Sorry guys, you can't have me. I'm all Mr. Branches. Y'all are I'm taken, so nobody can like me, so that's it for me.
Baby, that's it for us. He can have you. All of you. I don't even think he know who the hell he is standing back there looking like that there.
Hey, what's up? It's Lance. Welcome back to the channel. Today we are checking out a channel called Lazy Detective. I saw another video by them. We're not going to react to it. I just saw it on my own the other day, and I was like, this is a really interesting channel. So I saw this one popped up on my recommended after. This one's called 10 Forbidden Nazi Inventions That Could Have Changed the World. The thumbnail looked really interesting. I heard the Germans did come up with a lot of different experiments or whatever they were doing throughout back in the day. And yeah, it has like cute little animation. We might learn something. We like learning new things every day, right? So let's check it out, and here we go.
The Nazi Bell. In 1944, deep beneath the forested hills of Lower Silesia, a top-secret Nazi facility known as Der Riese fell silent. Weeks before, strange tremors had rippled through the region, and locals reported flashes of violet light piercing the night sky. Inside the complex, a bell-shaped device suspended by massive chains had been activated for the final time. Its name, whispered even among high-ranking SS officers, was Die Glock, the bell, and its function remains one of the most enduring mysteries of the Second World War. The device was approximately 9 feet tall and 5 feet wide, constructed of a metal alloy unknown to modern metallurgy. Inside, 2 counter-rotating drums spun a dense, mercury-like substance referred to only as Xyrum 5-125. When energized, this mixture generated powerful electromagnetic fields, triggering strange effects, electrical blackouts, biological mutations in nearby flora and fauna, and gravitational anomalies that bent surrounding light. Workers reportedly died from exposure, their bodies petrified or liquefied without explanation. According to interrogation records of SS officer Jakob Sporenberg, the bell was part of a project aimed at mastering anti-gravity and even manipulating time. These claims, once dismissed as fantasy, gained traction decades later when Polish researcher Igor Witkowski uncovered classified wartime documents referencing chronological distortion experiments and field displacement. Some of these papers contain diagrams of the bell mounted above stone platforms etched with runic inscriptions, suggesting a fusion of science and occult philosophy. When Allied forces reached the site in 1945, they found the chamber stripped bare. The machinery was gone. The scientists assigned to the project had vanished. The concrete chamber still held radiation residue and scorched markings, but no trace of the bell remained. Soviet troops also scoured the area, and it is widely believed that whatever was recovered was quietly absorbed into Cold War weapons research on both sides of the Iron Curtain. In the decades that followed, the legend of Die Glock refused to die. Journalists, researchers, and whistleblowers attempted to piece together its origins. Some claimed it was an early experiment in zero-point energy. Others believed it was the Nazi attempt to build a time machine. Satellite images from the 1990s revealed a massive concrete structure called the Henge in the region, a ring of pillars believed to have supported the bell during tests. No official agency has acknowledged the site's purpose. If the bell truly worked, then the Third Reich may have come closer than any government to unlocking propulsion technologies still considered impossible today. Its disappearance, more than its existence, fuels the enduring suspicion that the bell was not destroyed, but hidden. Whether buried beneath official secrets or spirited away to another part of the world, the bell remains a symbol of a future tampered with and then concealed. The magnetic viewing device.
Hold on.
In the
Okay. That's wild. A bell that could do anti-gravity? If that is true, those German scientists were on a next level of creating shit. If that is true, that's some wild stuff. That is some next level scientific. Yeah, they're on next level type of shit if they can figure that shit out, or even get close to even coming to that trying to do time travel. They're trying to change time. They're trying to change the course of their history. That's what it seems like to me with time travel. And anti-gravity, like...
Final months of 1943, deep inside a heavily guarded laboratory near Nordhausen, a group of SS engineers unveiled a prototype unlike any other. It was not a weapon nor a communication device, but something far more unsettling. The object resembled a telescope, except its lenses were made of a black crystalline material, and its frame was encased in rotating magnetic rings. The project bore a name that appeared only once in German archives: Project Seher, meaning Project Seer. According to a fragmentary Soviet field report uncovered in the 1970s, the device was discovered by Red Army forces during the capture of a secret railway convoy. It was stored in a lead-lined crate, labeled only with the Nazi eagle and an encrypted serial number. When tested under controlled conditions, the device emitted no light and produced no images. But when brought near sealed metal containers, it revealed internal structures: gears, wires, even writing on hidden surfaces. It could see through steel. Later examination by Soviet scientists at a classified facility near Lubyanka suggested the device operated on a principle unknown to modern optics. Instead of relying on light refraction, it used tightly modulated magnetic fields that interacted with materials at the molecular level, allowing the viewer to peer through dense objects as if they were transparent. Some speculated it worked by detecting shifts in electromagnetic resistance, translating them into visual feedback through the crystalline core. The technology was unlike anything in existence. When disassembled, the inner lens system dissolved into powder upon contact with air. Only a single surviving magnetic ring was preserved, but its alloy composition could not be replicated. Soviet engineers tried to reverse engineer the device for nearly a decade before abandoning the project altogether. No public record of Project Seer was ever released. No patent exists. The original German scientists involved either disappeared or were absorbed into Allied post-war programs. In 1984, a former East German physicist gave a radio interview describing a Nazi periscope that could penetrate armor without radiation. The recording was pulled from the air within 24 hours, and the physicist was...
Look over here. Little hands taking the... I kind of like this little cartoon thing. That's cute. But the little hands try to take the evidence. That's fun.
Never heard from again. What remains is a haunting question. How did a crumbling regime, surrounded on all sides, produce a device that no modern nation has reproduced? Could such a tool, in the wrong hands, be used not for discovery, but for surveillance, control, or targeted elimination? If Project Seer was real, then it means that the limits of human perception were breached long ago, and someone made sure that vision was taken away. The cold generator. In February 1945, inside a snow-covered facility on the outskirts of Prague, SS engineers prepared to evacuate as Allied troops approached. Among the items prioritized for removal was not a weapon nor a communication system, but a sealed cylindrical device stored inside a refrigerated vault. Its name was marked only in red stenciling: Kälteanlage 27 Uhr, the cold generator. According to fragments of Czech resistance files, it was the centerpiece of an experimental program to produce clean, continuous energy without fuel or heat.
One thing I do know is, I don't think this is an AI generated voice, because I can usually tell it's an AI generated voice. He says things very clear. I think this is actually a narrator and not AI generated. Especially saying that name, I can't even pronounce what he just said. That's a German name. So he said that pretty well. So usually with AI, they screw up names like that. You can hear a little glitch and a little something when it comes with difficult sounding names. He said it pretty good. So that makes me think this is not AI generated.
Of the time, the cold generator operated in complete silence. Its core housed a magnetic fluid suspended in a pressurized chamber, surrounded by rotating rings that induced an electrical current through shifting electromagnetic fields. The machine reportedly emitted no exhaust, required no combustion, and remained cold to the touch even during peak output. One Czech engineer, who defected after the war, described the sensation of standing near it as like walking past a glacier in total darkness, where air itself seems to contract. Resistance fighters who briefly infiltrated the site before its abandonment reported severe drops in temperature, with walls coated in frost despite active heating systems. Nearby instruments malfunctioned. Batteries drained instantly. When they attempted to dismantle the unit, the cooling effect intensified, forcing them to flee. Within days, the facility was cleared and destroyed by retreating German forces. No equipment was recovered. In 2003, a sealed packet of wartime German technical memos surfaced at an auction in Zurich. Inside was a schematic labeled Magnetische Umkehrkammer, magnetic inversion chamber, matching descriptions of the coal generator's inner housing. It included details about an oscillation chamber designed to manipulate magnetic entropy, an idea not formally introduced in Western science until decades later.
That was just an
Today's
auction?
scientists argue that a machine extracting energy without generating heat would violate known thermodynamic laws. But scattered references to similar technologies appear in post-war black project budgets, especially within Soviet and American field labs researching zero-point energy. The coal generator is never named, but diagrams appear almost identical in principle. No mainstream institution acknowledges its existence. No museum holds its parts. The name itself does not appear in any official Nazi or Allied archive. Yet enough fragments remain to suggest that such a device may have worked, or at least come terrifyingly close. If it did function, then the implications are staggering. A source of power that required no fuel, produced no waste, and operated in silence could have transformed the world.
That could.
But perhaps that was the problem. Perhaps it was never meant to be shared. Perhaps it was not destroyed, but hidden by those who feared what it would unmake. The sonic paralysis weapon.
That reminds me of Fallout Season 1. Talk about the cold fusion, how it's unlimited power and that could just like power everything, and that sounds a lot like that, the coal generator. Yeah. If they don't think they could like utilize it on their own, they won't. No. They'll help everyone else. No. It will help whoever is the evil people that will help them. But helping the people, giving power, and no. It ain't gonna happen.
Before, inside the heavily secured confines of the Oranienburg testing grounds north of Berlin, a group of SS engineers activated a weapon that left no physical wounds but rendered every living target within range motionless. The experiment was classified under the name Project Schallbruch, or Sound Fracture, and it marked one of the most disturbing episodes in the Third Reich's exploration of neurological warfare. The device itself resembled a massive audio cannon, mounted on a wheeled platform with a dish-shaped emitter nearly 2 meters in diameter. Unlike traditional sonic equipment used for communication or submarine detection, this one emitted infrasound, low-frequency waves below the threshold of human hearing, capable of resonating with internal organs and the nervous system. Test reports uncovered by British intelligence after the war indicated that the device could paralyze human targets at distances exceeding 30 meters. Subjects exposed to a 10-second burst collapsed without resistance, their muscles locked and unresponsive. Some remained conscious but incapable of speech or movement. One case involved a test subject whose heart rhythm became irregular for several minutes before normalizing without any physical trauma. The project lead, SS physicist Dr. Hans Kammler, noted that vocal resonance neutralization is achievable with sustained frequency modulation between 7.5 and 9 hertz. What makes this technology even more disturbing is the way it was concealed. Upon Germany's defeat, the Oranienburg site was reduced to rubble by targeted Allied bombing, but according to an OSS memo dated July 1945, a transport convoy carrying several components of the sonic weapon was intercepted near Hamburg. Its contents, once catalogued, were classified and transferred to undisclosed U.S. facilities. The logs list the device simply as Frequency Modulation Array, Non-Lethal Prototype. In 1972, a leaked RAND Corporation memo briefly mentioned a theoretical weapon that could disable hostiles through neurological interference at subaudible levels. The project was never officially acknowledged and disappeared from later reports. Modern sonic weapons, such as those used for crowd control or riot dispersal, rely on high-pitched sounds and do not approach the disabling effect described in 1944. No known system today can paralyze a target without contact, without pain, and without trace. The silence surrounding Project Schallbruch is telling. No blueprints have survived, no researchers spoke publicly, and the few references that exist seem to vanish as quickly as they appear. If the Nazis developed a weapon that could shut down the human nervous system using only vibration, it would represent one of the most terrifying intersections of physics and biology ever conceived.
Yeah.
A machine that leaves no scars, no smoke, and no sound, yet incapacitates its victims in seconds, is not just a breakthrough. It is a threat to the very idea of autonomy, the shape-shifting aircraft. In December 1944, radar operators stationed along the French border reported an object moving at...
Could you imagine if that falls into the wrong hands? If people want to try, like, if they try to figure, like, 30 years down the road, they figure this shit out, and normal, everyday people can get, like, a small version of that, you know how people would rob people, break into their, and just paralyze them and rob their shit and just go. I'm just thinking like that. And could you imagine if they did that with rioters and stuff like that? Just paralyze them. Just without blasting their eardrum, they'll just fall to the ground. Incapable of doing anything, not even talking. Could you imagine? Oh my God. Ooh. Yeah, get that in the wrong hands. That's not good.
Impossible angles through heavy fog. It changed form mid-flight, shifting from a triangular outline to a narrow silhouette before disappearing entirely from the radar screen.
That sounds like
pilots
some
sent to
alien
intercept
technology.
described a silent, reflective craft that appeared to shimmer and pulse as it moved, distorting the air around it. What they encountered was not a jet or a balloon. According to post-war files recovered from the archives of Messerschmitt AG, it may have been a prototype from Project Silberspiegel, Project Silver
These
Mirror.
names.
This aircraft did not have wings in the conventional sense. Instead, it was constructed using a series of flexible metallic plates, layered over a gel-like substructure composed of ferrofluid and reactive polymers. Internal systems allowed the body of the craft to shift shape in response to changes in speed, pressure, and trajectory. The purpose was not only aerodynamic adaptability, but radar invisibility and visual disruption. The skin was engineered to bend and refract light, giving it the appearance of liquid metal when seen from below. Engineering memos signed by Dr. Klaus Berger, a leading aerodynamicist within Messerschmitt, detailed a propulsion system that used an internal magnetic turbine rather than jet fuel. This turbine was connected to a field-stabilizing coil array that created lift without combustion, eliminating exhaust trails and acoustic signatures. It was not only the shape of the aircraft that changed during flight, its interaction with gravity appeared to fluctuate as well. One prototype reportedly completed 2 successful test flights before vanishing during a third. No wreckage was recovered. Witnesses from a nearby town claimed to see a flash of bluish light in the sky, followed by complete silence. The event was marked as a systems failure, but no formal cause was ever determined. When Allied forces reached the underground hangar at Augsburg, where the aircraft
disappeared. What, did it go into a portal or something like that? Did I miss something? Like, did it go into? It's like until it went missing. Like missing, like what? It just like disappeared. Just like ooh, you lost it. Was this unmanned? They're sending people into another dimension, sounds like.
Been developed. They found the facility flooded and rigged with explosives. A single fuselage section remained intact, but its outer skin had deteriorated into a gelatinous substance that defied analysis.
What?
Samples were taken by American scientists and sent to Wright Field in Ohio, where they were classified as unidentifiable advanced composites. None were ever shown to the public.
See,
in modern aviation,
right there.
no nation has successfully created a craft capable of in-flight morphing without mechanical flaps or hinges. Experiments in biomimetic engineering are ongoing, but nothing compares to the descriptions found in the original German documents. If Project Silberspiegel reached operational capacity, it means that the boundaries of air...
Did you hear that pause? Did he have a... I thought my shit was buffering for a second because there was that pause. He's like, did he try to figure out if he said that correctly or something? Because there was a nice little dramatic pause there. So I was wondering maybe if my shit was buffering. I was like, why is it pausing like that for?
Aircraft design, and even our understanding of solid matter were pushed far beyond the limits of accepted science. A plane that could change shape mid-flight and evade detection would not only redefine warfare, it would demand a rewriting of everything we thought we knew about aerodynamics.
Yeah,
The liquid armor. In the spring of 1945, as Allied forces advanced towards central Germany, an obscure materials laboratory near the town of Blankenberg was hurriedly evacuated. Inside, engineers under SS jurisdiction had been testing a revolutionary form of personal protection, an armor that flowed like water but solidified on impact, internally referred to as Project Hautstahl, or skin steel. The material represented a radical departure from metal plating and rigid composites. It was described in one recovered memo as a responsive fluid membrane capable of shock conversion. Witness accounts from Czech prisoners forced to clean the lab reported that guards wearing black experimental uniforms with glossy, dark gray sheens conducted strange movement drills inside impact chambers. When struck by rubber bullets or heavy weights, the suits emitted a sharp vibration and then returned to their fluid state in seconds. The surface shimmered like oil, but when tested under pressure, it resisted penetration with an efficiency rivaling steel. One SS field report noted a successful deflection of small caliber rounds at close range without injury to the wearer. Chemical analysis reports, though limited, indicated the material was based on a suspension of magnetic nanoparticles inside a shear thickening non-Newtonian fluid. When struck by a high-speed object, the magnetic fields within the fluid aligned instantaneously, causing it to solidify momentarily and disperse kinetic energy across the surface. Once the impact ceased, the particles reverted to a disordered state, allowing the fluid to become flexible again. When Allied troops reached the facility, they found only empty vats and a single armored glove fused to a laboratory wall. According to
Wait a minute, hold on for a split second here. Hold on for a second. Is this Thanos' glove right here? Why is this glove so big? Like, why is this? Like, why is this glove so big? I didn't know the Germans were like gigantic people over here. They're like titans over here. Look at this big ass glove.
According to a classified OSS summary dated August 1945, the armor's active compound had degraded during storage, and attempts to reproduce it failed due to unstable colloidal behavior in post-synthetic conditions. No complete suit was ever recovered.
Looks like
For decades, the concept of fluid armor was considered theoretical until, in 2006, British defense researchers announced the development of a shear thickening fabric designed to enhance Kevlar vests. The scientific community hailed it as groundbreaking.
Tech fortress.
Yet the principles behind it, and even the materials used, bore uncanny similarities to the forgotten notes of Project Hautstahl. Why did it take 6 decades for modern science to publicly rediscover something that appeared to exist in the final days of Nazi Germany? Why were the only surviving documents buried in suppressed archives? And why did no nation attempt to develop this further until the 21st century? If the liquid armor was real, then the very idea of vulnerability on the battlefield could have ended before the Cold War began.
Yeah.
A suit that flowed like skin but hardened like steel is not merely advanced. It borders on science fiction, unless, of course, it was never fiction at all. The thought amplifier. In March 1945, inside a remote neurological research annex hidden within the Austrian Alps, Nazi scientists under the authority of the Ahnenerbe launched the final phase of a project codenamed Gedankenträger. Thought carrier.
Sorry. There it is again. There was this long pause. There's a long pause. It just seems like he just kind of like, did I say that right? That long pause. That's what I would do. I'd be like, as soon as I say a long, difficult name, I'll be processing. Did I say that correctly? And then he said, what is an English version? But that's funny. There's another long pause.
Objective was not to observe the mind, but to enhance it. At the center of the project stood a helmet-like device constructed of interwoven silver filaments, quartz lenses, and copper induction rings. Its outer shell was layered with mica and insulated glass, while the inner structure was studded with amplifying crystals set in an array shaped to mirror neural pathways. Recovered fragments of SS engineering notes suggest that the helmet was designed to receive, amplify, and transmit neural impulses through a series of oscillating magnetic fields. Initial tests on volunteers recorded not only spikes in brainwave activity, but disturbances in nearby magnetic equipment and subtle movement of small metallic objects on observation tables.
You're like Professor X.
The lead engineer described one incident in which a test subject entered an intense emotional state, after which a compass needle on the far side of the room began to spin uncontrollably for several minutes.
Oh.
Further logs documented erratic side effects. Subjects experienced vivid hallucinations, disrupted heart rhythms, and in one case, temporary aphasia, followed by a burst of telepathic-like recall of information never provided.
Oh.
One memo referenced non-local memory retrieval, a phenomenon where the subject described personal events from the lives of other individuals within the test room, with verifiable detail. Though no claims of mind reading were explicitly made, the implications were deeply disturbing to those involved. The final experiment was abruptly shut down after the sudden death of a test subject who suffered massive cerebral hemorrhaging during a high-intensity transmission phase. Within 24 hours, the facility was evacuated, the equipment sealed in steel crates, and the project was erased from all formal records. The crates were never recovered. No remaining components of the helmet were ever made public. Years later, in 1967, a photo surfaced in a now-defunct East German technical journal showing a helmet-shaped device nearly identical to the Gedankenträger prototype, mislabeled as an early electroshock therapy apparatus. The photo was removed from subsequent reprints, and the author was not seen again in academic circles. In modern neuroscience, brain-computer interfaces have advanced rapidly, yet none claim the ability to amplify cognition or project thought externally.
This must be AI generated, because look at this. I noticed this earlier. It might be nothing new, but I think it's kind of humorous. Look right here. You see his hand right here holding the book, right? You see his other hand right here holding the other side of the book, right? But yet there's a third hand writing. Wow, he's a mutation himself. I noticed that earlier. I didn't say nothing because I was like, okay, is it really worth me saying something? Maybe you guys noticed it too last time. But I just noticed it again. Here we are again. But there's a third little hand to help write. Boy, that's pretty convenient. I like to have a third hand to help me write when I'm holding something. That's interesting.
Most require invasive implants or limited signal interpretation. But Project Gedankenträger describes something entirely different, a feedback loop between consciousness and machine, unmediated by language or muscle, suggesting that thought alone could affect the physical world under the right conditions. If the thought amplifier existed and functioned even partially as claimed, then human potential may have already touched the edges of something beyond cognition, something that frightened even those who created it. A device that does not merely record thought but empowers it, could render every weapon, every code, every wall irrelevant. The radar cloak skin. In the final days of the war, as Allied bombers rained fire over industrial sectors across Germany, a small flight test occurred near the Baltic Sea that never made it into military records. According to a declassified British radar report dated April 1945, an unidentified object launched from an experimental airfield in Peenemünde vanished from detection only moments after takeoff. The aircraft remained visible to observers on the ground, moving silently into cloud cover, but every radar station in the area logged a complete absence of returns. The incident was dismissed as equipment failure, but inside the Luftwaffe archives, it was linked to a secret engineering initiative, Project Nebelhaut, or Project Fog Skin. At the heart of this project was a revolutionary surface material designed to absorb and scatter electromagnetic waves. The coating was composed of a carbon-infused polymer blended with nanoscale iron particles, structured in a precise geometric pattern across the aircraft's skin. Rather than reflect radar signals like conventional surfaces, the fog skin absorbed them and converted the energy into harmless thermal dissipation, leaving the craft virtually invisible to detection systems. German test engineers developed a layering method that embedded these composites directly into the aircraft's outer mold line, According to a recovered technical sheet found decades later in a private collection, the material could be electrically charged to adjust its refractive index in real time. This feature allowed the aircraft to adapt not only to varying radar frequencies but to environmental conditions, such as humidity and temperature, maintaining near zero visibility across multiple detection bands. The project reached operational testing only once before the facility was overrun by advancing Soviet forces. The prototypes and engineers were evacuated under orders from the SS Scientific Division. When Allied forces finally arrived, they found the hangars burned, the testing chambers flooded, and no trace of the fog skin or the aircraft it covered. Following the war, American military intelligence teams reported a dramatic increase in black budget research into radar evasion. Internal memos from the early 1950s referenced inherited electromagnetic materials from Eastern theaters without further clarification. When the F-117 Nighthawk was unveiled in the 1980s, it was heralded as a marvel of modern stealth, yet the core principles bore eerie similarities to the materials described in Project Nebelhaut. No one has ever publicly linked the two. No one has explained why Nazi Germany had the theoretical groundwork for raisability decades before anyone else. If the radar cloak skin truly worked, then the boundaries between visible and invisible warfare were breached long ago and reburied under a wall of secrecy. A coating that erases an object from the electromagnetic spectrum does not just protect machines. It erases accountability, vanishes history, and turns truth into shadow. The DNA-targeted bomb. In the winter of 1945, as the Reich's collapse became inevitable, a courier transport departing from a biomedical research center near Posen was intercepted by resistance fighters. Inside one of the armored cases was a leather-bound notebook labeled Project Blutzeiger, meaning Project Blood Pointer. Unlike other Nazi weapons programs, this one had no connection to tanks, aircraft, or artillery. Instead, it focused on a weapon designed not to destroy buildings, but to identify and eliminate individuals based solely on their genetic code. The recovered documents outlined a project under the SS Eugenics Division in collaboration with a team of molecular biologists recruited from German universities. The concept was as radical as it was terrifying, a biological delivery system that could release a targeted viral agent, engineered to bind with specific genetic markers found in certain populations. The pathogen would remain inert in the general population, activating only when it encountered a particular DNA sequence. Inside the notebook were tables detailing allele frequency distributions, genetic polymorphisms, and protein marker clusters, all linked to ethnic identifiers as defined by Nazi racial theories. The weapon was designed to operate as a delayed-action aerosol. Once dispersed, the biological payload would drift silently through the air, infecting all in its path, but only triggering symptoms in those who carried the targeted sequence. The goal was not mass extermination, but surgical genocide. The science behind
Germans, those Nazis ain't shit. You know what they're... Yeah. That's trifle. You ain't shit for that, you damn Nazis.
And such a weapon was well beyond the reach of contemporary technology. Yet, elements of the theory now resemble the basic principles of modern gene therapy and CRISPR targeting. In the 2000s, geneticists acknowledged that it was at least theoretically possible to design treatments, or weapons, that act selectively based on inherited traits. The implications of this decades-old research are impossible to ignore. No prototype of the DNA-targeted bomb was ever recovered. The researchers assigned to the program disappeared in the final weeks of the war. Some suspect they were captured by Soviet forces, while others believe they were relocated to South America under false identities. The existence of Project Blutzeiger was not referenced in the Nuremberg trials, nor in any official Allied documentation. But the notebook, now held in a private archive, has been verified as authentic through handwriting analysis and internal cross-references to known Nazi personnel. If the DNA-targeted bomb ever progressed beyond theory, then it represents the most morally obscene application of science in recorded history, a weapon designed not just to kill, but to decide who deserves to live based on invisible codes written into their cells.
That's crazy.
The terrifying truth is that such a weapon may have been closer to completion than the world ever knew, and perhaps that is why its memory has been suppressed. not because it failed, but because it succeeded, the underground submersible train. In the last chaotic months of the war, beneath the jagged terrain of the Owl Mountains in southwestern Poland, Allied reconnaissance uncovered signs of a vast subterranean construction network known as Project Rees, Project Giant. Most assumed it to be a bomb shelter or weapons
That's
depot.
the only name that we could pronounce, Rees. The other ones are Project Shitcha or whatever. Those I can't pronounce the other ones. The Rees at least I could pronounce.
But buried deeper than any known installation were curved tunnels lined not with concrete, but with a smooth ceramic composite laced with copper coils and electromagnetic relays. According to a suppressed OSS field report dated May 1945, this hidden infrastructure was not built for humans on foot. It was designed for a vehicle that moved without wheels, without rails, and without sound. German blueprints discovered in a sealed vault beneath a nearby SS logistics center referred to this program as Project Unterstrombahn, subcurrent rail. At the center of the project was an experimental transportation capsule resembling a torpedo, built to glide through a vacuum-sealed tunnel using linear magnetic acceleration. The goal was to create a high-speed underground transit system capable of connecting key Nazi installations across Europe in minutes, not hours. The system required no external propulsion. Instead, a pulse-driven electromagnetic network along the tunnel walls propelled the capsule forward in near-zero resistance conditions. Unlike traditional trains, the capsule had no wheels. It hovered within the tube using magnetic levitation, with shock-dampening suspensions made of an unknown viscoelastic gel. Schematics included details for air pressure regulation chambers, electromagnetic brakes, and a system to evacuate air from the tunnel before each launch, minimizing drag and maximizing speed. No full-scale prototype was ever recovered, but evidence of incomplete capsules and magnetic ring segments were photographed by Allied intelligence before being confiscated. An internal British intelligence memo dated 1946 described the system as impractical, though disturbingly visionary, and recommended the materials be suppressed to avoid fueling post-war conspiracy narratives. Decades later, engineers working on modern vacuum train systems such as the Hyperloop proposed nearly identical mechanics: electromagnetic propulsion, airless tunnels, and subsonic travel. But where those modern projects remain in early development, the Nazi version appeared dangerously close to execution in the 1940s. Sections of the Owl Mountain complex remain restricted to this day, fenced off under the guise of environmental protection and geological instability. Attempts to drill or excavate deeper have been repeatedly denied by local authorities. If the underground submersible train was real, it would imply that the Third Reich had not only theorized, but begun constructing a transportation system that could surpass anything existing even now. Such a project would require immense resources, secrecy, and foresight, suggesting it was meant not for the war effort, but for something after. A world rebuilt underground, connected by silent tunnels and untraceable movement, remains a fantasy today. But in 1945, it may have briefly touched the edge of reality before being buried under rock, rubble, and fear. Conclusion. These 10 inventions were not scattered curiosities born of a desperate regime. They reveal a pattern, a constellation of breakthroughs that defied the science of their time and, in some cases, still defy ours. Devices that bent gravity, silenced the nervous system, shielded aircraft from radar, and even sought to target individuals based on the invisible codes in their DNA.
That's crazy.
The deeper we look, the clearer it becomes that these were not isolated projects, but part of a coherent technological leap that emerged briefly, then disappeared without a trace. This disappearance was not accidental. Each project ended in destruction, disappearance, or unexplained silence. Labs were burned, records sealed, and scientists vanished. What remains are fragments, scattered memos, missing patents, eyewitness accounts suppressed or discredited. And behind each of them stands the shadow of a post-war world that inherited their blueprints but refused to acknowledge their origins. What we see in the aftermath is not just loss, it is control. Governments that scrambled to retrieve this knowledge under operations like Paperclip and Alsos did not make these discoveries public. Instead, they vanished into black budgets, classified projects, and private defense research. The most radical ideas were never brought to market, never discussed in journals, never debated in public science. They were silenced. And the question is, why? Because these technologies threatened more than military balance. They threatened energy monopolies, medical orthodoxies, and the philosophical boundaries of what it means to be human. An engine that runs cold, a train that floats in vacuum, armor that responds like living tissue. Each one rewrites fundamental rules, and rewriting rules is dangerous to those who benefit from the old ones. The cost of this suppression is not just historical, it is generational. Every year these discoveries remain buried is a year we lose to stagnation, to systems that favor secrecy over advancement. What kind of world might we live in today if these inventions had been studied, developed, and shared? A world with silent transport beneath cities, with warless defense, with power that harms no one and costs nothing. A world where the limits we accept now would have been irrelevant then. Yet the vanishing of these projects tells us something else. It tells us that some futures are so dangerous, they are removed before they can take root. Not because they failed, but because they worked too well. The question is not whether these inventions existed. Enough evidence suggests that they did. The real question is why, decades later. No one is allowed to speak of them. Without being ridiculed, silenced, or disappeared. Because maybe the future arrived once, and maybe someone decided the rest of us didn't deserve it.
But I don't know what you guys think about this. I thought this was quite interesting. I like the little cartoon thing. I thought that was kind of fun. The little detective, he had some funny little I thought it was kind of funny. It was a nice little way to learn some stuff. I thought it was kind of interesting. So yeah, let me know in the comments what you thought about this. If there's one that really kind of stood out to you, like the bell or that gas that's wild. That is wild stuff. But the train one, I thought see, I didn't even know that we have trains similar to that, because could you imagine no wheels on these trains and you're just flying? Because my first thing is like, oh my God, that could what if something goes wrong and that's just, if that's zipping in there and that flies around in there and it crashes and you'd be dead. Oh my God. I mean, something with wheels can still, derail and crash, but I don't know, that seems more dangerous than the ones with wheels. I don't know, that's just me. But yeah, anyway, let me know in the comments, and like and subscribe, and take care of yourself, take care of each other. Love, peace, and grease, and